In Unix-like operating systems, all data is organized into files and all files are organized into directories. These directories are arranged in a tree-like hierarchical structure called the file system. The very first directory of the file system is called the root directory, as it is the one containing the entire tree of subdirectories and files of your computer. To identify the location of an entry in the file system, we use what we call a path, which is the equivalent of URLs but for operating systems. A path is a string of characters composed by following the tree hierarchy, in which components are separated by a slash character called a delimiting character. Path can be of two forms: absolute or relative. An absolute path is the full path to an entry starting from the root directory up, and by contrast, a relative path is the path to an entry starting from the current working directory, these being the directory in which the user is located. They're quite easy to distinguish, as an absolute path always starts with a slash, whereas a relative path doesn't. As at first path can be somewhat confusing, we will use the following visual file structure as a base for practicing our path writing skills. To compose the absolute path of the book file, for example, we start by first writing a slash character representing the root directory. Then we add each directory up until the one containing our file, which is documents, separated by a slash character. And finally, we add our target file. As you can see, writing absolute path is quite easy and straightforward, as it only requires following the directory tree structure from the bottom up. Let's now assume that our current working directory is our user's directory, which is in this case the John Doe directory. To now write the relative path of the book file, we first start by writing a dot character which represents our current working directory. Then, just like with the previous example, we add each directory up the one containing our file, which is documents once again, separated by a slash character. And finally, we add our target file. Now that we've seen how to write a path going forward, let's see how we can write them going backwards. Imagine that instead of writing the relative path of the book file located in documents, I wanted you to write the relative path of the Python file located in the bin directory. We would this time have to move all the way back to our root directory and up again to the bin directory. And to do this, we use a double dot notation. Simply put, the double dot can be translated to the directory containing this one, or in Unix terminology, the parent directory. If we therefore want to move back to the root directory, we have to go back up twice, so we first write a double dot, a slash character, and another double dot, then we add our bin directory, and finally our target file, Python. Now that we got to the bottom of it, I'd like to introduce you to yet another handy expansion called the tilde. In Unix operating systems, there's a special directory called the home directory that serves as the repository for users' personal files, directories, and programs, and that is simply named after your own username, which is in my case Razvan. On Linux, this home directory is located in the /home directory, and on macOS in the /users directory. Why am I telling you this? Well, because the tilde expansion is actually a shortcut to that home directory we can use in our relative paths. So whenever you want to write a relative path starting from your home directory, you can simply start by a tilde character followed by your other path components. And that wraps it up for this part on writing paths. It was a lot to digest, I'm sure, so replay this video for as many times as you need to make sure you really understand the difference between absolute and relative path and how to write them. To sum it up, an absolute path always starts with a slash symbolizing the root directory. Each component of the path must be separated by exactly one slash character, a single dot represents the current working directory, a double dot represents the parent directory, and a tilde represents the home directory. Whenever you feel ready, I will find you in the next lecture where we'll actually start using this path to navigate the file system.